professional jealousy.
Well, on the big podcast with Shaq said Angel actually called me after that rant. And he said, quote, she was upset, and she asked me, why didn't you say nothing?
Shaq O'Neal just called Caitlin Clark the genuine deal in front of Angel Reese, which was a complete bombshell. Let's face it, that's probably the most embarrassing thing she's ever experienced. Just think of how painful that must be. She wasn't being talked up by just any guy. This was Shaq, her staunchest ally, who had consistently supported her and questioned Clark's abilities. Now, though,
because you know I'm down. She was like, she's not gonna hit that shot, and bam, like damn, she's not gonna hit that shot, man. Like if I say 10 times you're not gonna hit the shot and you hit the shot.
what happens once we begin to dunk? Watch closely, we must shoot it. And let's face it, a contributing factor to all of this excitement, the conflict between Reese and Clark. According to Shaq, this Clark-Reese relationship is giving the league much-needed drama. Sports are fueled by rivalries, and Shaq believes that Clark vs. Reese is developing a plot that keeps viewers riveted to the screen. According to Shaq, it's precisely what women's basketball needs to create a story that supporters can support and get involved in, possibly attracting a whole new audience. Shaq recognizes that this rivalry has the potential to be the catalyst that makes the WNBA an event worth watching. However, Reese must face a harsh truth along with all of this admiration for Clark. Not only is Shaq's respect for Clark changing his perspective, it's also changing the focus. Once fully endorsed by Shaq as a future league legend, Reese now shares the stage with Clark, a player Shaq believes has the ability to further broaden the WNBA's appeal. Furthermore, Clark's charm, captivating manner, and capacity to turn every game into an occasion are more important than her skill alone. Shaq's oblique cue, Clark has the potential to lead women's basketball into the future. The guys have some handles, girls have handles. Yes, we have this, we have that, we have talkers, I see. Yes, we have bras. The dunk is the only thing lacking. Not only does this change make her feel less proud, but it also makes her realize that she could not have Shaq's backing anymore. Reese now faces intense competition, not only for titles, but also for influence and publicity, as Clark's ascent has made abundantly evident. Even though Shaq was initially devoted, it appears that he has since shifted his admiration to Clark, who is seen by Shaq as a true game changer in addition to being a talented player. Modification, I'm telling you. Not in my opinion. What? You're dunking and getting, bro. Trust me on the change, man. Believe me, I'm changing. I am telling the truth. Not in my opinion. Hey, bro. What could be more eye-catching than Shaq O'Neal, who reinvented the dunking technique, suggesting a complete change to women's basketball as a result of Clark? Yes, Shaq's most recent plan to increase the excitement is to lower the rim. He thinks this will draw in fans who are hungry for that slam dunk show. He sees it as easy math. He reasoned that since dunks are one of the NBA's greatest moments, women's basketball should also have the same exhilaration. Caitlin Clark is the player Shaq has in mind for this possible revolution. Your growing interest in fashion is admirable. I watch a lovely chick dunking on the rim all day long, bro. You are laughing uncontrollably. Women who are dunking do not turn on my man. Being turned on isn't the point. Clark's clutch assists and logo shots are certainly drawing attention to her game, but Shaq believes she has even more potential if she can take it to the next level. Although Shaq has always admired her daring long-range shooting and ball handling, he imagined Clark flying over the rim and dunking with the same ferocity she uses for those deep threes. He believes that Clark would execute the kind of spectacular plays that fill highlight reels and draw crowds of thousands of spectators if the rim were slightly lower. Shaq wants to produce athletes who push the sport to new heights, and Clark has the athleticism to spearhead that effort. Therefore, even while Shaq's suggestion sparks a lot of discussion, it also increases the excitement surrounding Clark's ascent. Clark would be in a great position to reinvent the sport if the WNBA ever thought about lowering the rim, drawing spectators with her skill at shooting and dunks. Although it's a contentious concept, Shaq's support lends it credibility that makes it difficult to overlook. Shaq has completely changed his mind and publicly declared himself Team Clark after witnessing Clark dominate the league for a year. He even boasted about having a fever jersey. Angel most likely believed that having Shaq on her podcast would be her big break. However, he instead focused all the attention on Clark, leaving Angel with nothing but the viral consequences of Shaq's candid and somewhat ruthless adoration for Caitlin. I'm going to admit that I get really angry when I see something that I don't do. I had to give Reese a call and tell her to stop reading the comments, Shaq said. She jumped on me, so you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. Charles Barkley was told by Angel Reese, why did you say nothing to Charles? She's being very sensitive. He added, why, you might wonder, did Shaq's admiration for Clark's strike angel Reese so deeply? This isn't simply another analyst praising Clark. That's why it's Shaq, the Shaq who has been a staunch supporter of Reese since the beginning. Well, Shaq was Angel's loudest supporter when she transferred from Maryland to LSU, energizing her as though she were the next step up from his own power. His pick was Reese, a guy who gave every match an unreserved, vicious edge. She is an excellent player. She shoots like a pro, and she does things I can't. She also excels at the free throw line. Shaq's backing, however, went beyond simple acknowledgments. Nope, he was fully committed to becoming her mentor, helping her navigate the tidal waves of trolling and social media criticism. He would advise her to tune out the chatter, concentrate on the task at hand, and disregard the distractions. She was reminded by Shaq that many people would love to be in her shoes and that she is fortunate to be in the league. His counsel? Put forth more effort, work more efficiently, and allow the detractors to choke on their own words. Shaq believed that Reese possessed the IT factor, the capacity to win over even her most ardent detractors. You must appear. You must purchase jerseys. You must purchase shoes. You must do that. Now they are beginning to do it. And the reason the game is more popular than ever right now is due to the way you played, Caitlin, and the item you had. Then, with a flair and skill that caught Shaq off guard, Caitlin Clark emerged onto the scene. At first, Shaq wasn't convinced about Clark. He wasn't exactly positioning himself as her biggest admirer. He anticipated that she would break under pressure as he watched her play with that iconic side-eye. However, Shaq's perspective was quickly changed by Clark's play in the Final Four. Chuck and I deal with this a lot. When we criticize these men, these young people and these women, they frequently fail to realize that we are the experts on everything they are preparing to endure. I would simply advise them on how to deal with hardship. And I believe that Shaq's high standards were the source of his early misgivings about Caitlin Clark. Shaq is not a man who simply bestows praise like it's free popcorn, you see. He always raises his eyebrows when a new talent emerges, and with Clark, he was no exception. He questioned her ability to manage high-stakes games, the kind that test players' limits. Shaq believes that your game isn't good enough if you can't make the clutch shots when everyone is looking. Additionally, he thought Clark was a bit of a gamble because she loved long-range shooting. He believed that her emphasis on shooting from a distance would backfire when it was most important. However, I have a remedy for that, and no one will like it. I'm present. Let me first explain why I arrived at this solution. This is where things start to get interesting, though. Shaq's doubt gradually gave way to reluctant appreciation as the NCAA tournament progressed. In addition to scoring goals, Clark was making ridiculously long shots in every game, keeping everyone riveted to their screens. Shaq was all eyes on Clark by the time Iowa was battling its way through the Final Four, waiting to see if she would falter or thrive under the tremendous pressure. And Clark, with defenders literally in her face, delivered cool as ice, hitting down shot after shot. Shaq's misgivings became more with each bucket until he was forced to acknowledge his mistake. I would really like to come and tell them to do this and that. I was simply advising her to persevere as I was entering the room and offering her words of encouragement. Because they stick with you if you're the top player and you play for a fantastic coach like Ken Melke. But for Shaq, it was one game that made the difference. With every point counting, Iowa was in a difficult place. And from the logo, Clark made this three-pointer. That's correct, the logo is where most players wouldn't even consider shooting. She didn't simply toss it up either. Shaq was rendered stunned by her effortless confidence. She changed from perhaps having something to being the truth in that instant. I adore you, Curry. Curry, do you know why I adore things? Since that is something I had never seen before. That's something I've never seen before. I've moved up the road and have seen it a little. However, I've never witnessed a man consistently fall. We've never seen anything like what she's doing if you look closely. I've never seen somebody consistently do it. A large number of girls do not do it. And Shaq means it when he tells someone the truth. They are unique in a way that transforms the sport. Steph Curry was the first analogy that came to mind. Shaq was reminded of the revolution Curry initiated in the NBA by Clark's signature move, those logo threes, which turned the three-point line into a weapon capable of turning a game in a matter of seconds. Shaq has seen a lot of talented shooters, but Clark's reliability from downtown was exceptional. Top performer, everything is expected of you. As a result, I just told her, listen, I understand that your coach is a little harsh with you, but you must accept that because you're the best player and whatever. Shaq observed how it attracted attention to the game and how every long-range shot had spectators on the edge of their seats. By demonstrating that three-pointers could provide just as much excitement as a dunk, she was redefining what a women's player could do on the court. Shaq was enthralled as he watched her execute these daring shots that were beyond Reese's reputation. Reese's fashion sense, impressive nonetheless. But all of a sudden, Clark's skill was a little more exciting and unpredictable. Reese's strength and ability to grab rebounds were key components of his game. But Clark's ability to make three-pointers from any position on the field had Shaq giddy. All of this contrasts sharply with players. Like the dependable strength-based game that Angel Reese brings, don't misunderstand, Shaq continues to appreciate Reese's physicality in the painting. However, in contrast to Clark's thrilling style of play, Reese's inside dominance feels, well, conventional. Shaq is leaning toward Clark's unpredictable nature and isn't afraid to show it. Clark's surprising long-range shots are adding a new level of intrigue that Shaq can't ignore, while Reese is all grit and effort. Following Charles Barkley's tirade about the WNBA's envious ladies, she remained silent and stopped being spiteful about Caitlin Clark and other things. Shaq stated on the major podcast that following that tirade, Angel did in fact phone me. She was upset. He said, quote, "Why didn't you say anything?" she inquired. And a new dynamic is being created by Shaq's change in passion. Since the beginning, Shaq has been Reese's strongest advocate, mentor, and go-getter. However, he is suddenly praising Clark more than ever before and making her the focal point of his admiration. For Reese, whose once certain limelight is now split with Clark, the player who is regaining Shaq's focus with each game, that must be painful. Shaq's admiration for Clark's style is more than just a fleeting interest. It's a full-fledged recognition that she is bringing women's basketball to a new level and into a new age. See? Nope. When males say that, I detest it. That's the only change, though.